Hello, everybody. Okay, so today I'm going to do some announcements and then we'll go ahead and get started with the continuing ed. So, like I said in the chat, make sure you drop your first name and last name so I can record it for your CE hours. And for people here, make sure you just sign in so I can do that. I record the hours, so we're supposed to get 12 and a half every year. And this accounts for 1.5 hours. At the end, for people on Zoom, make sure you drop a 1 through 5 rating on how well you think the presentation applied for your yeah applied for your cases and how you think it was relevant. And the speaker today is Amanda Hale. Is that right? Is that okay? I'm just making sure that's how you say it. She has over 10 years of experience in child psychology and is an adjunct professor at TJC, right? Okay. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Sure. And then I was reading a book about therapists. It's like a book for therapists. And then turns out it's not just anecdotal, it's full of people pleasers. And I knew that just from my experience, but apparently that is absolutely true. So, whoops, yep, I'm a people pleaser too. So, yeah, definitely happy to be here. And I'll just kind of go through, some good information hopefully for you. I know you'd asked to talk about like icebreakers and things that just kind of getting conversations going with kids. And I love working with kids. We were kind of talking before we got started. That's why I'm coughing, unfortunately. I'm getting over the flu because someone probably coughed in my face. It is what it is. So yeah, we have those build up the immunity. That's the goal. But some years your immunity is not working as well. But yeah, generally speaking, I feel like I could be exposed to the plague and I'm fine. Like it's going to be fine. But I better not. There's wood somewhere. Knock on some wood because yeah, it was not fun for sure. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of talk about, like I said, some topics that I think will be helpful for you. I brought some props. I know on Zoom I'll kind of hold things up so you can kind of see that. And I thought I'm going to pop on Canva and make a little presentation because we talked about that a little bit. I love Canva. It's so much fun if you've ever used it before. And I always tell people if I can do it, anyone can. I'm not very technologically savvy. I've had to be forced to. It's fine. But yeah, I started out I feel like in the Stone Age. Like back when we had paper Scantrons, like you didn't take stuff. We have a couple UT Tyler students or alums here. I went to UT Tyler for undergrad and graduate school. And yeah, my students now look at me like I'm crazy if I use the word Scantron. I'm like, no, it's a thing. It's a thing that us old people did back in the old days. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to kind of see the progression and things have changed over the years. And I kind of like I told you later before, like you just have to roll with it. When you're a school psychologist, that's just life. And working with kids, you guys know that. You just got to roll with it because you just never know what's going to be said or happen. And like even today, one of my kids said something and went, okay, moving on. Like I don't know what to say to that. Okay, let's move on. And we were doing a lesson on think it or say it. So that was really fun because kids have no filter. And sometimes we say things and maybe we should have thought that. So we had a little lesson on it. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about,
Is it working?
Maybe not. Sorry. I saved it as a PDF, so it's probably my fault.
No, I had it where it was able to do that.
Okay, maybe I pushed the wrong button.
Interesting. Okay.
I can just do the arrows.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, pink one. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Oh,
okay, you have to backspace it twice.
Oh, okay. No problem. Okay. So just going to kind of introduce myself a little bit. So I'm a nationally certified school psychologist. I started working on that a few years ago, and that's been kind of fun. It's like, okay, I'll just add some letters to my name. It'll be, so impressive, right? Kids don't care. Like that's another thing about letters after your name. They don't care. They want to know you for you. If I told them any of this, they'd be like they would just look at me like, so like they're not impressed by stuff like this. Because maybe they shouldn't be, I mean, it doesn't really mean anything to them. But this is my 17th year as a school psychologist. And it's been a lot of fun. I just can't imagine doing anything else. I absolutely love it. I know some people will say, "Oh, do you want to move up into admin?" I'm like, no, I want to work with kids. It's so much fun. Because yeah, it's just you never know what's going to happen. It's every day is different. I can't imagine like just sitting at my computer all day. I have to get up and move and go see the kids and do all the fun things. And I think I told you before, if you're feeling down on yourself, just go to kindergarten. They're like, "You're pretty. Do you? I love your hair." And you're like, "Okay," like it feels so good. It just builds you up. So it's kind of nice. As they get older, they don't do that nearly as much. But I've been a school psychologist. That's what LSSP stands for in Texas. That's a licensed specialist in school psychology. And I'm also working on my LPC, my licensed professional counselor. So I decided about a year ago to go ahead and start working on that. I'm getting hours for that right now. So that's a lot of fun and just kind of expanding my, I guess, repertoire, if you will. And I also serve on the Texas Association of School Psychologists board. That's why I'm going to Abilene. We have board meetings, and I serve as the Area 1 representative, and Area 1 is basically DFW in East Texas. So it's a pretty big chunk of school psychologists in Texas. It's a very needed field. We're in a shortage. If anyone's interested, let me know. I'm always recruiting. We talked about that. I'm always recruiting because we need you. Um, and I'm an adjunct professor at TJC. I've been doing that about 15 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. I started when my son was really small, and now he's in high school and he's almost 15. It's so weird. But Stephanie Lazansky is my department chair. Absolutely love her. I know she's on the board for you guys. And she sent out a thing, "Hey, help, can someone go talk?" I'm like, "True, that sounds great. Let's do it." So yeah, I've never actually been to the CAC, and I was asking you some questions. There was some things I have to learn from you guys, which is great. I'm a big nerd. I love to learn lifelong. So I want to definitely hear from you guys and hear what you guys do. And on Zoom, if y'all have any questions or comments, please hop in. But I've been teaching psychology for TJC for a long time, and just had a great experience there. Highly recommend TJC. It's a great organization. So they do a lot for the community, and they do a lot for. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we can actually hold off on an activity just for a few minutes. I do want to do some active listening. I know activity, people hear that and they go, "Oh my God," like I get it. I understand. I have to go to, I didn't realize you guys have to get quite so many hours every year. That's pretty substantial. I have to do CEUs too. I have to do 40 every 2 years. And so I get it. No icebreakers, I swear. Like it stresses me out to think of a fun fact. I'm not doing it. Like I would know, it's just going to make me sweat. I'm not going to do it. So yeah, unless you just want to share a fun fact, go for it. But you definitely don't have to. But we will I'll maybe get a volunteer at some point if you don't feel too nervous about that. So we'll do a little active listening activity here in a little while, because I think that's a huge part of what you guys are really being asked to do. And for what you were saying is kind of what type of information you were looking for. And that's hard. Active listening can be really hard, actually. It's, we're constantly distracted by everything. Me too. I was answering texts just a few minutes ago about due dates about things. And, I get calls or texts, and we have, our office phone comes through our cell phones if we want it to. And I actually don't have email notifications set up on my phone because that would drive me crazy. It's too distracting. But yeah, we're distracted by lots of stuff, and that can be really hard. And kids get the message too, just like adults do. If you're not really focused on them, they know. Like, they're smart. They know. And adults feel the same way. If we're not really focused, if we're, excuse me, distracted by lots of stuff. And sometimes that's just life. I get it. I've got kids too. Excuse me. I have one in high school and one in fifth grade, which is so weird to think about because, like I said, I started at TJC when one was born, and then the other one came along. And yeah, I mean, like, the school calls, my instant thought is they're sick, something's wrong. So all those things in life that we have to take care of, I totally understand that. So I don't take offense if someone has to take a call or answer something or something like that. I try to instill that in my TGC classes too. Like, hey, if you have to take a quick call or something like that, that's cool. But let's not just, sit and scroll. I get it. I said something from TikTok earlier to you. Like, I get it. I'm just as guilty as everybody else with scrolling through my phone. I said we listen and we don't judge because I love that. I think that's really funny. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about active listening and just kind of practice that a little bit, but no pressure. You don't have to talk about anything important. You could just tell us about or tell your partner about a movie you watched or something you think is fun. All of us have kind of a preferred interest a little bit, just like our autistic and ADHD friends. We're just as guilty as having preferred interests. I mean, I have a Harry Potter sticker on my car. Like, so I get it. I love nerdy things. So yeah, we all have something to talk about, and it really just helps for people to know, kids included, that you are actually listening to them and you're being active in your body language, and also not trying to let yourself get distracted by technology and things like that, because I know it's hard. There's lots of things happening in life, and I try to turn off my notifications because of that. It's just too much. So we'll do that here in a few minutes. So we'll kind of reflect on that when we do that. Okay, talking about first visits. So let me hear from you guys just a little bit. How long have you guys been volunteering for the organization and doing this type of work? Just kind of generally. Anybody? Year and a half. Okay. Anybody kind of just starting?
I just started working here.
Okay.
But I won't be doing this side.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But it's interesting to hear and learn.
Very cool. Okay, so some of you guys have been doing this a while?
Yes, 8.
Wow, that's amazing. But just generally speaking, that's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, it's a really neat organization. Like I know a little bit about it. Like I said, I don't know as much. I asked police, and like he was very nice. He wasn't judgmental about my question. He was like, he answered really nicely. So I appreciate that. So yeah, so one big thing is, being familiar with documentation. I always say about kids, and I tell them this, I'm not going to judge you by your file or what's in your stuff, but I do need to know about it, right? Because I may have a kid come in who's got a discipline record about this law, about this thick, and it does happen. But I really try to give them a fresh start and give them an understanding of like, I'm going to judge you by like how you treat me, how you talk to me, not based on this whole big history that you may have. But I understand that's something you do have to be aware of, especially if you're working with kids who have experienced trauma or they've experienced, a big disruption in their lives. That way you don't ask a question maybe that you feel like you just stuck your foot so far in your mouth that you can never recover. And you can still recover. Kids are forgiving. But you don't want to ask a question accidentally, maybe that you shouldn't ask, or something that's going to cause someone distress, or to think about, oh gosh, I shouldn't have asked that. You may have accidentally asked about, like, this is more benign, but today we were talking about pets. And then one of the kids goes, oh yeah, my dog passed away. And I'm like, I didn't mean to bring up a dog. And then that happened to your dog. And so it was fine. We talked about it. But it definitely wasn't on purpose. But, of course, you're not going to be able to know everything. But you can know enough to know there may be some landmines you just don't need to step on and go that route. Because, yeah, and we judge. That's part of what humans do. So we have to really kind of actively work against that. And that's kind of what I put in about like limits and biases. We all have biases. You're human. You do. Everyone does. Now, being aware of them is what is important. And it's easy to say, don't, I'm perfect. I don't have any biases against anyone or anything. Of course you do, because you're human. I mean, that's just something to be expected. I feel like I sometimes get along and work better with boys versus girls sometimes, because that's the majority of kids I've worked with in special education with behavior. It's almost always a lot of boys. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to look at you. Like it's the boys, just kidding. And I have sons at home. Like I don't have daughters. And now that's been a learning curve too, because I don't have any brothers. So I'm just like, okay, boys are, no offense, okay, is this what boys do? Like, okay. But yeah, so that tends to be my comfort zone. Okay. So it's not necessarily a bias. It's just what I'm more comfortable with. I really like to work with the little bitty kids. I've really worked with all ages, from 4 to 18, really 3 actually, or even 2. We do evaluations of kids about to turn 3. So it's really just a big difference between the kids. But at their core, they do have some, common tenets between them. But yeah, we all have biases. That's okay. And we also have limits. There's going to be some things that, again, kind of a more benign example. We were looking for something to watch on TV. And I was just like, you know what? I just can't like deal with this right now. Like, this is too serious. It's too dramatic. I've just kind of had a hard day. I can't really think about this today. Or there may be a certain type of population that you really struggle with working with, and that's okay. I have the same issues too, and as a professional psychologist, I mean, so we're all human. We have things that are our limits, and it's okay to know those limits, but just communicate them. Like, hey, I just don't know about this because of maybe I experienced this. Okay, that's fine. We just have to know about it in order to address it. And so, yeah, ask for guidance and support. One of the core tenets of our ethics is consultation with other professionals. I'd still call my supervisor. Like, I've been unsupervised for like 18 years, but I'm like, Beth, I have a question. Or I'll go, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. because I just need to talk to someone about it. Okay. It says someone is requesting you to allow multiple presenters to share. I don't know if you need to do anything about that. Okay, just make sure. So yeah, I'm sorry. I still call her for support, or I like go sit with my coworkers. And I have the most experience technically, but I need to talk something out. So it's never a weakness that to show vulnerability and say, I don't know, somebody help me with this. Because there's a lot of changes. I also grew up without the technology. I'm like the elder millennial that grew up in an analog childhood, and now I have to deal with like all the technology and stuff. And it's hard, like even like raising kids with that is hard. Dealing with, kids at school, like, oh, so you're in third grade, you have a cell phone. I'm like, you what? You have a cell phone? Oh, good Lord, here we go. Because it's hard to navigate that. And I've had to learn some stuff too. And learn like the slang. It's so funny. Like the stuff the kids say now, I'm like, y'all are hilarious. Like, so I called a kid. He was doing something. I went, bruh. And he goes, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, I said it. Like, I called you bruh because you're being a bruh right now. Like, he was like, okay. Like, you could kind of tell I got a little respect for that. But yeah, just kind of silly stuff like that too. So yeah, again, doing some homework, knowing what to avoid. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, like just things that kids are into right now. I think it's important to know this. I know it sounds a little silly, but my kids thankfully keep me informed. I feel like I need a spreadsheet with slang though that I need to like build and sell or something like that. So yeah, like video games, very popular video games right now. Like, what are they? Just even knowing what the names are. I knew what V-Bucks were the other day. And so I got some serious credit with a kid. So V-Bucks are through, that's Fortnite. Yep, that's Fortnite. See? Yeah, that's what my son asks for all the time. So I went, oh, you want some V-Bucks? And he's like, you know what V-Bucks are? I'm like, uh-huh. And so he was like, okay. Like, I'm like, thank you. I am cool. And like, no, I'm just kidding. Like, I'm an old lady. It's fine. But yeah, I knew what V-Bucks were. So he actually was like, okay, like, okay, let's see what you know. So like Xbox, I once had some autistic kiddos, some high school kids. I made them do a mock debate between Xbox versus PlayStation. It got very controversial. Like I was like, okay, I did not know it would get that intense. But yeah, there were some very passionate arguments. So yeah, Nintendo Switch, I know enough about. Like I have a character on Super Smash Brothers I play with, so the kids usually like that. So you don't have to be an expert by any means. And that's why I said, like let the kid be the expert. Like, oh, you play that. Tell me all about it. And that's a great conversation to have with a kid. And they love to be experts and to know about stuff. It's so much fun. So yeah, like Roblox is really big. Fortnite. Oh, I spelled it wrong. My 10-year-old goes, that's spelled wrong. He wouldn't corrected it. It's spelled Fortnite. I didn't know that. So he corrected. He corrected it. That's him. Yeah. Wrong. And he goes, that's spelled wrong. I'm like, okay, can you correct this for me? So it was pretty fun. Minecraft is still pretty popular. And again, you don't have to play these or be experts on these, just kind of knowing about them. Like television shows, if you know the age, you can usually find that pretty quickly. Like Bluey's really big with little kids. Power Rangers is still popular. And so a lot of the stuff, the old is new again. So stuff that was around when I was a kid is like already come back and then some. So we talk about that. Pokemon is still a big thing. Sports is huge. I know very little about sports, so I'm happy to have the kids be the expert on that. But reading, drawing, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Man, that's a big popular thing. So kids are really into that kind of stuff. So yeah, if anything, just let them be the expert. Like, hey, oh, what's Dog Man? Tell me all about it. I did that yesterday with a kiddo. We were doing a matching game from the Dog Man series. And she goes, I'm going to let you get this one because you don't know this. I'm like, that's true. So yeah, kids love to be the expert. Adults love to be the expert too. We love to know what we're talking about and someone's really listening to us and like, wow, it's also like fancy. I'm an expert in this. And so that can be really, really fun for kids just to have a really casual, fun conversation. Because I know from what I gathered from what you said, the focus is just getting to know the kids and really seeing what kind of person they are, what they're into, and all the things. And that really is the idea, behind that conversation. So like, I know doing your homework. Barbie is still really popular. Hot Wheels is still popular. Transformers, believe it or not, is still pretty popular. But yeah, if anything, like I said, let them be the expert and tell you all about it. It's so much fun to be able to do that because kids love to be the expert. Okay. So getting comfortable and like I really am a big advocate of just bringing things to do. So like I went to Dollar Tree this weekend. And I always tell people I don't work for Dollar Tree, but I do love me some Dollar Tree. It may seem like I work for Dollar Tree, but I don't. But seriously, about 20. It's just a little puzzle. I bought stuff and I know I'm going to use. So this is a Thanos. So I guess Marvel. Can't explain Marvel to me. So I've seen, but I'm not an expert. So this is Avengers and Thanos. It's just a little puzzle, about 25. I am cheap. I don't work for Dollar Tree, but I am cheap. Disney princesses, modeling clay. You can get that there. So modeling clay is really fun. I know Play-Doh. I think there's some Play-Doh right behind you. Actually, Play-Doh is really fun. I got these blocks on Amazon. And they're really cool. They're a little more expensive, but what I do is I put it in my cart and then wait till that's kind of my strategies. But these are magnets, so they stick together, and so they're really fun to build with. And it comes with this really cool book that gives you ideas on stuff to build. And I just grabbed a couple of books. Like I said, I picked things that I know I would be able to use again. Like axolotls are really popular. They got put into Minecraft like 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. And so, could you think, why in the world do you know what an axolotl is? Like it's this random sea creature, and it's because it was in Minecraft. So yeah, really fun. I make coffee out of them, and do coloring sheets. You can get them, and also for older kids, those adult coloring books where they're like a bit more detailed and things like that. Like they're like really detailed. This is $1 from Dollar Tree. It's super simple, but yeah, especially older kids. You know, people don't like it, and I probably make you uncomfortable. Like get close to people don't like it when you sit and go, "Hi, what's going on?" That's weird. Like I just like I even can tell from his face like, "Well, that's a little weird." Because yeah, like it's kind of confrontational in a way. It's uncomfortable a little bit, especially if I don't know you. Like I just met you. Like I'm gonna sit here and pull up my and just look right at you. Tell me all your feelings. You know, no, it doesn't work that way. I mean, it would be nice if it were that easy. But yeah, kids like to be doing an activity. Adults do too. Just doing an activity that I don't have to look directly at you and talk about maybe things that are uncomfortable for me. And I know that's, you're not really there to be their therapist or something like that, but inevitably, kids are going to think or feel something that may be uncomfortable. And so it's okay to do something where I'm much less confrontational and I'm sitting like build a tower. Okay, so what's going on today? Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. Got to go outside and play. And so very less confrontational because I'm not looking directly at you like, that's kind of weird, right? And kids feel the weird too, just like adults do. And so stuff like this, it's not messy. It's not really expensive. I kind of collected over time. But yeah, I was like, oh, I got to go to Dollar Tree. Oh no, this weekend to pick up some stuff just to kind of be able to bring some examples of things. So it's really simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. That's the main thing. It could just be something, and you could sit there and color with them. Like how many times do you get to just color? Like that's really fun. You get to just color with a kid. So that way, you're making them comfortable too. So yeah, monitoring your own reactions. I know that can be hard because I'm very expressive and sometimes my face can kind of give me away a little bit. So I have to be very mindful of that when I'm talking to kids or I'm asking them questions because you don't want to say, let's say you tell me something, and go, now they think, well, I better not say anything like that again. That made them really uncomfortable. They probably can't articulate that. But now I've reacted to something you've said and that's made you really uncomfortable. Well, now I'm not going to say anything. Now I don't feel comfortable saying more than let's talk about the weather. Because I know you guys are really trying to get to know the kids to really be able to advocate for them, right? So yeah, you want to be sure you're monitoring that and your tone of voice too, just being expressive, clearly showing an interest. Kids can smell it a mile away when you're not genuine. They know. They know, they know, they know. You may be thinking you're able to fake it. Nope. They're better at it than adults, I think, honestly. And some things kids do, I hate that we lose as we get older because they tend to be more honest. Now, of course, like I said, sometimes we need to think in and not say it. But they tend to be more honest. They tend to be less judgmental. They tend to be very empathetic. You give them the opportunity. But some of those things we do lose as we get a little older, we get more jaded, and we aren't as comfortable. So there's things that I wish we still kept from when we were kids. But yeah, like even your wardrobe. I know that sounds really strange, but if you're too dressed up, too kind of fussy looking, I mean, this is probably the most dressed up I get, and it's honestly like pajamas. Like they're really like it's like cotton. It's really nice. But yeah, the kids, it's really hard for kids sometimes. Like if they've had a bad experience with a man in a suit, for example, and they see that and they go, like, what are you going to say to me? Like it's just too much. It's too buttoned up. It's too formal. That can make people uncomfortable, and especially kids, especially if they've maybe not had a good experience with that. Maybe they've had to talk to someone in a suit that it wasn't a pleasant experience. So really, like, we don't want to be too casual, we don't want to be just kind of let it all hang loose, but we want to be a bit more casual so kids don't get too intimidated by us, because so sometimes we don't think about that, or we think, we want to dress to impress. Of course we do, like we want to impress, but that can be really intimidating for kids. Or sometimes they're like, who do you think you are? Like, what are you doing? You're like, okay, that's a fair point. But yeah, we want to look nice, but we also don't want to be too intimidating. So yeah, just being kind of aware of that, and also putting away your tech. And I know, again, that's hard, but when you're talking with kids one-on-one and you're developing that relationship, try to put it away. I used to grab my phone and take it with me. I do have my watch, but I used to take it with me just to go do like an observation in a classroom because I might be needed for something. And I've stopped taking it with me, and I've noticed I'm much less distracted, just not even having it with me. So calls will still come through my watch if it needed to, but that way I can quickly go, oh, okay, I'll deal with that in a minute. Like I'm like much less distracted too. I've even noticed that for myself, and it's not my first time doing it. Like you think you shouldn't have known that? Yes, probably, but just doing those little things has really made a difference. So, and using kid-friendly language, I can kind of fall into that sometimes. I'm a big reader. I like to use big words sometimes. And so I have to be like, okay, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense when you're 5. So just keeping it really simple. And even if you think it's too simple is still better than too complicated a little bit. That can make it a little bit easier for kids to be comfortable. Oops. There it goes. Okay, so I kind of wanted to go through some icebreakers. Now, I do love to have a volunteer. Have you ever played Two Truths and a Lie? Has anybody ever played it before? You're smiling. Have you played it? Okay, I think we have a volunteer. Okay, so I'll go first. I had time to think of mine. So yeah, I gotta think of something. Okay, so Two Truths and a Lie, keep it fun and silly. It doesn't have to be anything serious. So this is especially good for older kids. You have to think of 3 statements. 1 is a lie and 2 things are true. And so I'm anxious to see what you guys guess about me, which one is the lie. Okay, so like I said, I'll participate too. My favorite color is purple. I like to drink warm soda, and I want to visit Australia one day. What do you think? You think 2 is a lie? Okay. Oh, you think 1 is a lie?
3.
Think 3 is a lie? Okay, don't judge me. 3 is a lie. I do like warm soda. I know that's weird. I had a I go, like I kind of like it when it's warm. It's not cold. I don't know why. I don't want to visit Australia. There's way too much there that can kill you.
I wondered if that's why I was lying.
Oh, like the spiders are the size of plates. No. Roofs. Your roofs can no. And the flight's really long. I'm sure it's a beautiful country. I'm sure it is. But I had 0 desire to go visit Australia one day. But yeah, there's just too many. So yeah, so it's kind of fun, right? I kind of made it hard to guess because the warm soda thing, like that's a little weird. I just like it room temperature. And my friend goes, I'm like, I know. Sensory thing. I don't know what it is. But I like ice cold water. I do not like room temperature water. I don't see. Yeah.
Well, it's on the pathway.
I tell my students that all the time. We're all weird once you get to know people. Nobody's normal. Normal's a myth. So, okay, did you come up with anything?
Yeah, let me make sure.
Okay. Got it. She's thinking.
I have them. I'm trying to think what my 3rd one was.
It's okay.
Okay.
Okay. What you got?
I have a brother. My favorite color is yellow, and I've never had a cat.
What do y'all think? I'm gonna go with yellow. Is that the lie?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have a guess.
Great. You all can't answer.
No. So you have had a cat. Gotcha. That was a good one though. See, I should be realistic though. Like if I didn't know the answer to it.
Yellow is the only thing I do.
Okay, yeah, she went like yes, but I said that she went. No, I get it. Yeah, so it should be fun, right? Let's just think of silly stuff. It's really a fun game, especially for older kids. Younger kids, it's a little bit harder because they don't really get that. But yeah, it actually is really hard for me to even play a joke on people. So I'm surprised I could say it with a straight face. And also, don't feel weird if you prepared it ahead of time because sometimes it's hard to think. It is hard to think like right when you're in the moment. And so you could bring something with you like, okay, this one's mine. Let's think of some ones and have them write it out. It's just because it's fun. It says that's all it is. Like I said, icebreaker, just to have a little bit of fun. And older kids, it's great. And just to be silly, like it doesn't have to be anything serious. And you can kind of set the stage by doing that, by you come up with yours. And they're kind of silly. They're really benign. They're just something that, oh, I don't have a cat or I like yellow. It's nothing that really makes a big difference, but it does help. Now I know you've had a cat. Yellow is your favorite color. What was the first one?
I have a brother.
You have a brother. Okay. See, we learned lots of fun facts about him. There you go. You learned my weird fun fact that I like warm soda. We could just bring you some.
Actually, that's a good one.
Pretty fun one. And I was thinking one else. Oh yeah, that one. People won't believe that one. Especially orange soda. I don't know why.
You like an orange one?
I know. I don't know why. Like I said, when I was see, I just trust you guys. I feel vulnerable with you. I guess I'm being honest. But yeah, I figured I was like, okay, that's a fun one. So just be silly. It's a really fun icebreaker to do. Another one, would you rather? Kids love would you rather. It is so much fun. You can get them online for free. We do these in the car on road trips. Kids love would you rather. Now, again, especially boys love the gross ones. Like, would you rather like snot or spit? It's disgusting. I don't know why boys think that's so funny. But yeah, they think it's absolutely hysterical. So these are some fun ones. Would you rather be able to fly down a rainbow or jump on a cloud? That's a really fun one. It kind of tells you something a little bit about a person's personality too. Would you rather eat a dead bug or a live worm? That one was for the boys because yeah, the girls are like, I know girls are like, oh, and the boys are like, ooh, a dead bug. They think it's so gross and they think it's hilarious. No. Yeah, sometimes they'll come in from outside. I'm like, I don't know, licked it. I'm like, oh, did you do that? It's really weird. But yeah, especially little kids, they just think that stuff's kind of hilarious. Would you rather be super strong or super fast? That's a really fun one. And these can lead to bigger conversations, right? Okay, I'd rather be super strong. Well, why? I want to be able to protect my mom. You may have kids say that sometimes. I'd love to. I do a 3 wishes thing when I do just those conversations. And I had a sweet baby. He said, yeah, I'd love $1 billion. I was like, well, what'd you? He goes, I give it to my mom so she could get what she needs. I know, it was really sweet. I told her, I'm like, I'm going to make you cry, but I'm going to tell you this. Or would you rather be super fast? Why? And then you can really get some insight into maybe what they've experienced a little bit without really, like I said, you're not a therapist, that you're not there to be their therapist, and that's totally fine. But they really, believe it or not, some of these even more kind of basic questions can really tell you a lot about a kid and why they would pick that. So, or if they even said, slide down, jump on clouds. No, I wouldn't want to jump on a cloud. I'm afraid of heights. Okay, tell me about that. What happened? Are you afraid of being up high? And then also that comes, and I'll talk about this in a second, a little self-disclosure. I'm afraid of heights. Like that's okay to tell somebody. Cool. I'm human too. It's okay to do a little bit of self-disclosure with kids. But yeah, even just from something as I know, would you rather eat a dead bug or a live worm? But it tells you something really fun about them. Or maybe they're into bugs. Like, oh, I love looking at worms and like learning about them. Okay, tell me more, and they can be their little expert again and tell you all about worms and all the things that they know about that. Wild Kratts is another good show that little kids like that even as an adult, you're like, I'm learning stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah, even from such a benign question or even the 2 truths and a lie, you're going to learn something pretty cool about the kids. So it's a really great icebreaker. Like I said, a lot of those are free. Would you like to play emotion charades? That's a really fun game, or just plain charades. And have you noticed none of these involve tech? They all involve just talking. And that's what I really advocate for. I really never bring out tech for kids to use. I will use my iPad. We use this website called Everyday Speech. That's amazing for social skills. But really, other than that, I don't buy any tech toys. I bought Hungry Hippos when it was on sale. There's no batteries even. I mean, I try to keep it, like I said, I am cheap. So it's not going to mess up. It doesn't even need batteries. Like I bought a fishing game with magnets. Like it's just super low tech. And I think that's by far the best way to do it. Because even us, like if you're on your phone, and like I said, I'm just as guilty as anybody. No way am I paying as much attention. Like, do you ever put something on TV that you can just scroll your phone while you're while you're watching it, but you're not really focused on it? And we were watching something that I was like, "You're gonna have to put your phone down." Like, I took my husband's phone and did like this because I'm like, pay attention, because we're really not. Divided attention is a myth. You probably know this from your psych degree. We like to think we can have our divided attention. You actually can't. Everybody thinks they can multitask. You actually can't. Not very well. That's why like texting and driving is so dangerous because, and I sound like an old lady when I say that, but I do tell my Gen Psych students that because, yeah, we're not good at multitasking. We think we are. Most people think they're funnier than average. Most people think they're a better driver than average. Just statistically, that can't be true. Like we're not, and we just can't do it. But we tend to think we can. So you could do different actions for charades. So these are just some, and y'all can have a copy of this if you want to use anything. You could do reading a book as a charade, swinging outside, be an animal. That's a really fun one. Do emotions, feelings, happy, sad, relaxed, whatever you want to do. And that's really fun too, to get kids to kind of express. I'll do that in group a lot where I'm like, show me a happy face. Cause autistic kids sometimes struggle with expressing facial expressions. And some of them are really hilarious. They're like, it's really exaggerated, but it really makes a big difference. It's quite a bit of fun. So yeah, that's a really fun icebreaker too. And have fun with it. Be a kid again. Like participate with them. If you're sitting there like an old stuffy fuddy duddy, like they're going to be like, well, what are you doing? But when you jump in with kids and play with them, they love it. And you can feel a little silly and just be silly. And you hardly ever get the opportunity to do that. And so I say take advantage. One afternoon, I got to go outside on the playground and like dance with one of my students. I'm not a good dancer, but she doesn't care. So it was quite a bit of fun. But yeah, just jump in and participate. Don't be afraid to be silly, be goofy. They respect that. They really do. Okay, so drawing questions from a hat, that's another fun one, especially for older kids. If you found a genie, what would you wish for? If you could become any cartoon character for a day, what would you be? If you were in charge of dinner, what are we having? Tell your best joke. Especially older kids sometimes they, of course, don't want to be as silly. They don't want to do charades as being a pig. They're not going to do that. But yeah, I mean, even just silly questions like that. And then they can ask you these questions too. They could pull out a question and say, I'm cute. And they love that. Like, because I always say, like, do you have any questions for me? You never know what they're going to ask. Like, what did she ask me yesterday? Kat asked me. I can't even remember. Or like, she was like, what do you like at McDonald's? I'm like, oh, that's a fair question. Because I was asking her about her favorite foods, and I'll say like, oh, what's for dinner tonight? If you could pick anywhere to go. Because sometimes specific questions can be hard for kids. They have a hard time thinking of that, especially if they struggle with like speech and language issues or autism or even ADHD. And then you have trouble just like pulling an answer out of nowhere. And so you can even say, do you like McDonald's or Taco Bell? You get to pick one, or Chick-fil-A, or what sauce do you like from Chick-fil-A? All those fun things. But yeah, don't be afraid to share yourself. I like honey mustard. That's my favorite from Chick-fil-A. And it's fun too. Like kids, usually if you say you like mushrooms on pizza, that's pretty gross. They're like, oh, I'm like, I've had one kid ever be like, me too. I'm like, oh my gosh, because no, they always like cheese or pepperoni. But yeah, they think that's pretty fun too. Or you can think of a funny joke and you can prep some of this ahead of time. It is hard to think on your feet sometimes. And if you feel kind of nervous, that's normal. It's okay to feel a little nervous. Even if you're like, it's a kid, why am I intimidated? But it can be a little bit nerve wracking for sure. Okay, so I'm a big proponent of using visuals. I made this on Canva. I do this every time to have kids check in. And again, I know this isn't a therapy session, and I'm happy to share these with you guys. I use this one with my younger. So you can see there's marker on it. So we use it all the time. We used it today. Everyone loves to write with a dry erase marker. It's just fun. Like even adults like, ooh, this is fun. So kids love to use dry erase markers. So I just got some very basic emojis for my kids. Most of them are not good readers yet. That's okay. And we go through them every time. And one day I forgot them. And one of my kindergarten or AU kids goes, where's the face sheet? And I was like, they're paying attention. I was like, oh my gosh, he actually remembered. But yeah, so they circle like what they're feeling today. On this one, I have happy, mad, bored, sick, sad, sleepy, silly, and worried. And for this one, I actually had a basic one. And then I had the kids give me suggestions of what to add to it, which is kind of fun. So I did add hurt, hungry. That's a good one. Weird. They asked me to add weird. Okay. scared, confused, in addition to more of those basic ones, and worried. So as they kind of learn them, because these are kind of subject to interpretation, we go through each one. We talk about what they are. So again, if you feel like you have a kiddo who's struggling verbally, I know we're not looking at doing a therapy session, but it can help to express some of your feelings by just having a visual, um, especially when you're upset. So when you're upset or escalated, your verbal tanks. Your verbal just goes in the toilet. It's so hard. I have a kindergarten actually right now who I'm working with who gets really upset and then can't express how he feels. So I made another copy for his teacher because he uses this in therapy, so he knows how to use it. And so that way you just hand him this. He could go back to his desk and circle, or sometimes they'll flip it over and draw their own emoji that they're feeling that day. So that can really help. I know that was kind of one of the notes you made about like sometimes verbal is really hard, and it can be hard for kids to come up with this language because this one's the basic ones, and we have some kind of more particular ones up here. Those are all things we just learn automatically. Emotion vocabulary is really important because mad and frustrated are two different things. Like furious and annoyed, those are two very different feelings. So we kind of are helping kids learn what are some of these words we can use to express that. And so that way, if you have someone struggling with like, I just don't know what I'm feeling today. Okay, look, here's a visual. I'm feeling this way today because blah, blah, blah. And so I can kind of model how to use it, but it's really simple. Like I said, Canva, again, I don't work for Canva either. I feel like I could only ever sell anything that I truly believed in because otherwise I can't sell this. But I could sell Canva because I just made this on Canva. It took me like 10 minutes and I saved it for future use. And I bought my own laminator. I told you I'm a giant nerd. It's fine because I love to laminate things. And that way I could just reuse it over and over. We just erase it with a Kleenex. And that way you can use it over and over. It's not something that you have to continue to buy or anything like that. Because I know you guys are volunteers. Like I recognize that. I don't want to tell you anything that's going to be like expensive or something like that because I get it. Life is expensive enough. We need to find as many free things as possible. So yeah, I bought my own laminator at Michael's. It wasn't that expensive. So I really enjoyed that. And the kids love it. They really do. And like I said, even when you think they're not paying attention to it, the next session they go, where was that? I'm like, oh my gosh, like, hey, let me get it back out because I'd forgotten one day with me. So anyway, so this just kind of gives you an idea of that, especially for younger kids who struggle with those verbal expressions. That can be a little bit easier for them to do, or just like they can flip it over and draw what they're feeling that day. So that can be kind of another component. I've kind of included that too. But some other sample activities, I kind of mentioned these like puzzles. Even teenage kids love puzzles. And it can be really fun about a puzzle. I actually get kind of overwhelmed with like these 1,000-piece puzzles. I'm like, holy cow, like I can't even. So what I tell them is I'm like, you know what? It really overwhelms me to do a puzzle by myself. But if I have you helping me, I'm going to have a whole lot more fun doing it. And so it's a very basic teamwork and team building exercise that doesn't require a lot of conversation if you don't need to make it. It's just going to make the person comfortable with you. And even older teenage kids love puzzles. And I guess it's because maybe we don't do it quite as much as we once did. Like my grandma always had a puzzle going, like my whole childhood. She always had one going on a table. But they're just not as popular as they once were. But she can get them super cheap. I do a lot of thrift store shopping too. And I know for puzzles, you're taking a big risk. Mm-hmm. It could be missing a piece. So I don't do that. But yeah, like at Dollar Tree, I think they're like $1.25 for kids puzzles. You can get bigger puzzles. Yeah.
I was just going to say, a few years ago, I went through a pretty intensive pain management, like a month-long pain management course thing. And that was one of the things they used for all ages, was putting puzzles together as a form of pain management as well.
Really? That's interesting. Because it does take your mind off of, you're concentrating on something else. And that can be really helpful. That's really cool. I've never heard of it used for pain management. That's really neat.
There's also a benefit for doing something with your hands that helps ease anxiety.
Yes, definitely. And that's why I love like squishies. Five Below is another great store for sensory items. Play-Doh, squishies, all those little things, because it just helps you just sit there. And, I used to I would do therapy in a conference room, and then I left the squishies out. And when we would have meetings, they were a lot less contentious sometimes because everybody had a squishy. Adults aren't immune to this either. Like it's pretty crazy. But yes, absolutely. If you're using your hands, it reduces your anxiety. It's less quote unquote confrontational to have that conversation. And it just makes you more comfortable. It just kind of helps ease some of that, especially like you said, using your hands. And then the puzzle aspect, you're taking your mind off of the things that are bothering you and you're really focusing in on doing this puzzle. But yeah, definitely low tech. I know I emphasized that before. Modeling clay, Play-Doh. I brought some modeling clay if you want to look at that. Kinetic sand. You know, it's funny. My students know I don't like it. I don't like the hands. And they're like, we know you don't like it, Miss Hill. I'm like, you're absolutely right. I don't like kinetic sand. You can play with it. I'll watch you play with it. And sometimes I'll bite the bullet. I'll go ahead and touch it. It's just a little weird. I don't like, again, sensory issues. That's fine. But yeah, kinetic sand is really fun, even for teenage kids. Some of the therapy kind of modeling kind of clay. I have 17-year-old kids who want to play with that. Like it's totally universal. Drawing materials is a big thing. Card games, just simple card games like Go Fish, Uno. Emoji Uno is a really fun one. I usually, again, try to find those on sale. Black Friday is a big one. Any holiday, like they'll put some different things on sale. And so, some of those basic card games and things like that. Because again, I think a lot of kids don't really play stuff like that as much anymore. It really is kind of a novel thing for them sometimes just to play Uno. And that can be kind of team building too. But yeah, you got to let them win a little bit. Like, don't just be harsh and be like, I'm going to make you draw 10 cards. I know you know not to do that. We got to be mature. But yeah, emoji Uno is really fun. But yeah, it just takes your mind off all the craziness of life and gives you some time to just kind of relax and talk it out. Legos are really big. Crafts, paints, fingernail polish. Just let's paint our nails. Like I said, there's some things I do that I think, oh, I'm at work. This is so much fun. I made a checklist for a kiddo that was Kirby themed, like the character Kirby. And I'm sitting here making it and going, I'm at work right now. This is so fun. So yeah, it was really great. So yeah, all of these can be modified for a variety of ages. It can be quite fun. And again, like enjoy yourself too. Like sit there and paint your nails with somebody. Like what's the worst that could happen? Like really, it's not going to be anything too serious. So just kind of be willing to kind of be a kid. Okay, so what else? Journal or drawing prompts are really helpful, especially for older kids or even younger kids too. Draw your best friend, your sibling, your pet. Draw a picture. Finish the sentence. My favorite day ever was draw your dream house. Write a story about you as a grown up. That's kind of fun. And that can also, again, tell you a lot about a person. I have a kiddo that draws a lot of animals she really likes, and she loves a wolf. That's her favorite animal. And we talked about that. And like, why is a wolf your favorite animal? Well, because they're really strong. They're very beautiful. They're very elegant, but they're really tough. It can, of course, you don't want to read too much into everything, but it really gives you an idea of what the kid really likes, what they value, what are some things that they find important. Or like draw your favorite superhero, or maybe Kirby's your favorite character, whatever the case may be. But yeah, all of these things can really help you really get to know a kid, and in a very low pressure way. Some kids love to write. Some kids hate it. That's fine. So you can really modify everything to make it however you want it to be. It doesn't have to be too complicated. It can just be simple. Or like, hey, what do you want to do today? I have this and this. And let them pick. That's fine. It just can be really simple and really straightforward. It doesn't have to be complicated. But yeah, I can really tell you a lot about a kid. Like my favorite day ever. When they tell you what their favorite day is, that tells you a lot about who they are. And it really gives you some insight into that. And be ready to answer something if they ask you. Like I said, too much self-disclosure is not a good thing, but a little bit of self-disclosure is a good thing because it makes you relatable. You're not just some stuffy, grown up who, oh, there's another grown up that wants to talk to me. Because a lot of our kids have been through that and they've, oh my gosh, another grown up's asking me questions. Who are you? What do you want to know? Like, why do you want to know these things? Because yeah, they're suspicious, a little bit suspicious of us sometimes. And that's fair. Based on their experience, I get it. That's fair. That's, not unexpected. So yeah, I wouldn't mind saying, oh, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher when I grew up. Or when I was growing up, I had a pet bunny. I was telling the kid that the other day. She just got a rabbit. I had a rabbit when I was a kid. His name was Freckles. I was just telling her about that. And she's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, he looks like this. And so we were just having a very nice conversation about that. But again, if you need to kind of think of some things ahead of time, that's not uncommon. Don't feel weird if you have to do that because sometimes it feels good to kind of know in your head what you're going to talk about. So again, what's the goal? I know that it's establishing trust and comfort. And if nothing else, you're just a supportive person. And I know you guys kind of know that, but just kind of reiterating that because sometimes I feel like that. I think, oh my gosh, what do I even do for a living? I don't know. Am I really making any kind of difference? And yes, you are. If anything, you're just there to listen to a kid and be their supportive person. And so in schools, it's a little bit different being a school psych because like I'm never going to really write kids up. Like I'm not a disciplinarian. That's not my role. Now I set standards for them. They know. I sometimes use my teacher voice. I'm like, and they go, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have to pull it out very much, but I will sometimes. But yeah, I'm not really like, I'm not there to do anything other than support them and help make them feel comfortable. And so like no pressure, no checklists. Like I know it can feel that way sometimes. You're like, oh, I gotta do this. I've got to get this done. And I feel the same way too, even doing therapy. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't want to talk about my anxiety all the time either. So let's just play a game today. It's the end of the 6 weeks. Let's just have some fun with each other and just developing rapport. And you know, silence as a tool, that is so we love to fill the silence. That's kind of who we are. Like it's our sort of our nature. You will have unbelievable results sometimes if you just sit and wait. And then they say something new. Okay. But yeah, just sitting and waiting for them to say something. I know that's hard because we like to fill the silence, but it's so impactful to get kids to say, maybe kind of open up a little bit or say something that's really, you know what actually is really bothering me. I'm like, what? And then I just wait. And it really helps a lot. So I know it's kind of a straightforward silence is golden, you know, sort of rule, but it can be really impactful. Okay, so again, be active. Like I said, don't be afraid to share. But you know, they do need to know your limits. I know there's some things that kids share with us that we do have to report, and that's part of my role too. And they need to know that. I mean, but in kid friendly language, but they do need to know. Um, you know, sometimes the things that you tell me, and you know, if you tell me someone's hurting you or something's going on, I may have to talk to somebody about that. But I mean, 99% of the time, kids will still say something to you. Has been my experience, but they do need to know that, you know, you need to respect them as a person, just like you would an adult. So just knowing your limits, that's really important. And like I said, don't be afraid to share, be active, be silly. Yeah, I did like, what is it? Simon Says. That was a lot of fun. Like there is something I'm like, Miss Hale can't do 20 jumping jacks. Like Miss Hale's not doing that. But like, oh, stand on your 1 foot for 20 seconds. Okay, like, you know, just get up and be silly. They love it. And it just makes them feel like so much fun with you. And that way they don't feel so. And like also sometimes it helps to have specific things you can say. Just commenting with no question. I love the color you picked. Not why did you pick that color? You know, it's not an interrogation or anything like that. But I love that you picked purple. That's my favorite color. So it requires no answer, just a comment, you know. It's also okay to say you don't know. Like there's sometimes I don't know. They'll say, what's going to happen with this? I don't know. And that's okay to say. I'm here to listen when you're ready. That's okay to say too. I always tell my students that you're never required to tell me something. I will never say, you must tell me. That's crazy. That would not go over well as far as developing rapport. But yeah, when you're ready, I'm here. I'm here for you. And you can name your feelings, but try to let them name theirs. Like you can model that. Like, oh, I'm really happy today or I'm really frustrated today because someone on Loop 49 was going 55 and a 75, and that was really frustrating. So can you tell that actually happened on the way here? But yeah, try to name their own, you know, but it's okay to name your feelings and kind of model that. But try not to put words in other people's mouths about how they feel. And that can be a trap we all fall into. Like, you look really mad today. Try to pull yourself from saying that and just let them express how they feel, maybe with a visual, maybe with a story or something like that. That can be really helpful to just let them kind of. So it's okay to be nervous. I mentioned that. And like I said, kids tend to be far less judgmental than adults. Kids are much less judgmental, but they may be suspicious. And you're going to mess up. That's okay. And I know I'm going to mess up. And I just take that opportunity to model how to apologize because I'll say, you know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That was my fault. I'm so sorry. I messed up a group time actually last week before last. I thought it was 10:30, I swear. And then at 10, it was supposed to be at 10. And I walked into this kid and went, I'm so sorry. I told you I was going to see you today. I messed up the time. It was my fault. I'm so sorry. And she goes, it's okay. I love kindergartners. She forgave me. It was fine. But yeah, I can apologize and do better. And I'm like, you don't need anything from them. Like, I don't need anything from you. Because sometimes we can feel that way. Like, what are you trying to get out of me? You know, but you don't need anything from them. It's okay to say that too. I think that's the end. Okay. I know it's right at 1:02, but we have time for questions or any discussion that you guys want to have. And yeah, so do you have any questions or anything?
What age range do you think is hardest to like get them not to open up, but just be more vulnerable with you? Well,
I think teens a lot of times can be really difficult because they've been through a lot. They've been through more kind of that cynicism and getting sort of jaded versus younger kids. Now, younger kids can too, but I think sometimes teens that have been through a lot, those can be really hard. Because again, like you're just another person talking to me about stuff. And like, why do I always have to talk to all these people about this? I get it. I wouldn't want to either. So just kind of, yeah, I think that's probably the most difficult because they've a lot of times been through so much and they've had to talk to so many people about all these things and they're tired of it. And I get it. So kind of acknowledging that frustration is really important.
I have a new case who's a teenager and just had the first conversation.
Yeah.
And my approach to that was, well, there was some things that I needed to cover on the got CASA
Yeah.
routine questions
Yeah.
and so forth. But by going through his records and everything and talking to him, you see he's first of all he's straight A student on the honor roll at his school. So and he's very articulate and outgoing and everything, interacts very well. And so what I'm getting is already is his intellectual needs are not lacking or doesn't need a lot of help, but there's emotional stuff that I think I'm going to have to just spend time with them and build a trust with them. And one thing, and I like you kind of touched on the self-disclosure. And I don't know if I go a little bit too far, but I just, because I'm looking at here's a teenager and here's this old guy. And for sort of an icebreaker, I just say, because they understand, he understands he's in, has a team of professionals and so forth. And like I said, everybody's asking him a lot of questions and so forth. And I just kind of told him, I'm doing this volunteering. And I didn't want to say detract from people that are getting paid on his team.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, I'm just doing this because I want to help somebody.
Yeah.
And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I just want to, so I don't look like I'm up here.
Yeah.
Condescending.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. I think that's a great self-disclosure. Like, hey, I've made mistakes, man. Like, I get it. And it's funny because I think anybody over 30, they're like, my gosh, you're old. Like they'll say that old lady. I'm like, listen, like, hold on a second. But yeah, it's, they kind of have that perspective. I'm sure we did too. We probably thought 30 was ancient when we were, 10 years old or 14. And, but no, I think that's really important to be like, hey, I've messed up. Like, and I've struggled with this. I was an anxious kid as a younger kid. So I really have a very big soft spot for my anxious young people. And I tell them that sometimes too. Like I was really worried about stuff when I was a kid and it really was hard. And, back then, people really didn't have nearly as much understanding of that as they do now. And so I think that type of self-disclosure is really important because then they know, okay, you're not perfect. Like you said, you have experienced this too. Or like my parents are divorced. Like my parents personally aren't, but like, let's say they are. That I think self-disclosure like that is okay. And there's, things in life that are really hard. And, I'm not just sitting up here perfect on my pedestal that I've made mistakes too. And that's why I said like leaving that room for apology if I messed up. I know that was something silly, but I did tell this kid I was going to see her that day. And then I ended up not being able to see her. And I did feel bad. I mean, I really was like, I'm so sorry, like I messed up and I'll try to do better next time, and it's okay to stumble. And I think that's really important for kids to see too, that, yeah, you're not perfect. That's okay. So I really like that self-disclosure example that you gave. I really do.
Well, one thing too, that this CE we did in January was on stigmas. And that was very insightful. And I think most of the kids at any age are going to feel they're different, right? They're separated. And one of the examples was being at school and just asking, like the teacher asking, let's do a family tree and put down your dad. Where was your dad from? Where's your mom from? And then, just a lot of stuff like that. And what I can throw out there, have one advantage of having ADHD is I throw that out there and say, I was sort of not by choice or by, it's just, there was a stigma associated with that because it's like when you have a very pronounced ADHD,
Mhm.
you're talking about myself anyway. I don't want to be judgmental, but I missed it. That's like was it when I was in school.
That
So
perception, yeah.
and I had a very stable, normal family life, but I was just kind of out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's one of the things I can just kind of relate to them.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's more like taking time and building some trust to
Yeah,
really
for
do.
sure. And I think that also shows them like it's not weak to say things about yourself that maybe aren't perfect. That's okay. Like I said, I consider ADHD a total superpower. And I usually tell kids that because it can be really challenging at times, but also like having them have that growth mindset or like, I can't do this yet. That's a really fun thing that we do together too, because there's plenty of things I can't do. Like I'll be like, hey, I don't know how to work on a car. Like I have no idea, but I can do this really well. We all have things we're good at and things we're not so good at, and that's okay. Excuse me. So kind of having that vulnerability, walking that line is really important, but I think it is really helpful for kids to hear that. So I like those examples. Yeah, because they look at you come in and go like I said, even like you over here, they'd be like, that old guy. Like they would call you old if they're fine. Yeah, it's so funny when they're like, I'm sure I felt the same. Like 28. Oh, now I think, my gosh, that's a baby. But yeah, kids can be really funny like that. But yeah, and then sometimes they'll go, you did? And they're like shocked, Have you ever had that reaction before where they're almost like, really? And you're like, "Mhm, yeah, like it was tough. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Anybody else have any input?
I don't deal with that. She's 15. I've worked with a lot of teens, teaching school and doing this, and I know these kids need control. They don't have control of anything.
Yeah.
This young lady, why are you asking me these questions? This is not what you're supposed to do. There's just questions about everything. As you were going through some of these, I sprang all the different things, and we've got a good bond.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that with her on the phone. What are we done? Because everything has to be her idea. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not sure. Is there a game to play for that?
Yeah, I mean, I would think too, like giving control over to her, so giving her some options and letting her choose. Because you're right, a lot of kids do crave that control because their life is so out of their control and out of their ability to make any decisions. So that's kind of what I would suggest is, yeah, if you have, I'll have to think about certain games. I'll have to come up with that. But yeah, like giving some ideas, like, hey, would you rather do this or this? And that's just a really simple choice that you get to make. But that's tough, yeah, because they have so little control over their lives. That's why I'm a big proponent of like, kids wear their hair how they want. Like, does it really matter? There's very little in your life you can control, especially even for typical kids who have typical experiences. Just let them do that. Oh, well, yeah. Does it really matter? Just letting some of that control away. Or she could ask you questions. Like, give her some options to ask you some questions. That gives her the control.
Really?
I bet she does. I bet she does. Yeah, maybe some things that are just, not necessarily something she comes up with. Give her some choices, but that way she's actually picking what to ask you. And like if she wants to change that question, or she could ask you some of these questions. Like if you could be what would you be? And like you have that opportunity to just talk through. That way it's giving her some of that control back. Because that's not, yeah. And I feel like you relate to that then because teenagers can be hard. They can be really, really hard. But they are craving that control, which I get. When you don't have a lot of control in your life, it makes it really difficult. Are there any other questions? Anything on Zoom? Nope. Okay. Yeah, I really respect what you guys do. I know it's volunteer. I know it's got to be hard and really a big challenge, and it's such a need in the community. So I have nothing but respect for you guys. I know that's got to be a real challenge. Because yeah, I think sometimes too they will say that, well, this is your job. Oh, why? Over the years, I really haven't gotten that very much, but sometimes you do, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't work on commission. I'll kind of joke like that. I don't work on commission, and yeah, but I'm here anyway, and I really like to help people. Like that's really why I chose this career, and I love to work with kids, and you're so much fun, and you teach me all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, very rarely have I had that question as much, but it tends to be older kids. What are you doing? Yeah, what's in it for you? You know, like I said, they can be suspicious. Like I said, they tend to be less judgmental than a lot of adults, but they tend to be sometimes more suspicious, I feel like, because again, because of their experiences, which I think it's okay to acknowledge. I get it. You're suspicious of me. You don't know me from anybody, and that's okay. But I'm here to show you, I'm here to help in whatever capacity that would be. But I get it. I would probably be suspicious too. If it were me. And they've kind of had to rehash stuff a lot. And that's not fair. And I know it's not fair. So
When the A goes off your letters up there, go into private practice and see what your kids.
yeah, I want to.
It would be great.
I want to. Oh, thank you. I really want to. I mean, like, I love being a school psychologist, like I said, but I also kind of want to explore the private practice realm eventually. And then having your LPC, I'm able to do that. And a good friend of mine is doing my supervision. She's amazing. I used to work with her. And but yeah, it's kind of a journey, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I like it. It's setting a new goal for myself too. And like I told them that too, still a student, just like everybody. I like to learn. Um, but I know it can be a challenge, but I like it. It's a lot of fun.
We have a question. Christy asked, any tips for special needs children, like of like just giving information?
Yeah, I would say visuals are incredibly important. What we call social narratives or social stories. A lot of books can be really helpful for that. So if there's a specific one, I can definitely pull some resources. But that's why I love the emoji sheet for especially for younger kids or for kids who struggle with verbal. So I work with a lot of kids with autism, ADHD, emotional disabilities, and things like that. So a lot of times, for sure, a lot of active play, like doing Simon Says and stuff like that. It's really helpful to be incorporate movement into some of that. That can be really helpful for kids with special needs. And just also, it's kind of like a little bit of mental gymnastics too. You have to sometimes make them think it is their idea. I have a very smart kindergartner I'm working with that I have to convince him that I think he's really a lot older than he is, and he's way smarter than everyone. So we're going to do this. And he's like, okay, like I have to do a little bit of reverse psychology, but yeah, definitely lots of visuals. But yeah, books are really helpful for that. There's some really great series out there that do talk about like anger or sadness or stuff like that. Spot of Feelings is a good one. But yeah, using books and visuals can be really helpful. And just to incorporate that, especially with our kids with disabilities, for sure. That's a good question.
One thing I comment on going way back when I was a kid, when ADHD wasn't, I think that wasn't discovered till like the 90s or something.
I can't remember, but yeah, but I mean, like
ADD.
anxious, yeah, right here.
And it was a kid with ADHD was considered a brat, and it was a result of bad parenting.
Yep.
And from my own experience, to go through school, especially, well, all the way through high school, really, when there was things that I had to learn and sit down and here's a lesson and you have to learn this and you have to, it's very well defined. That's what I had trouble with. But fortunately, I fell in love with radio and electronics, so that I just went to town on that.
That's cool.
Studied to get FCC licenses, and I wanted to get there. That's the only way I could get there. But that was on my terms. So yeah. I think, like what you said about if you can somehow make a kid do something and it's like their idea.
Yep.
That they can get some interest in and get past that. I'm being told what to do, and it's really
fine. Yeah. A lot of our more oppositional kiddos can be like that because it's almost like if it's not their idea, no, it's not going to happen. And so you kind of have to play that little reverse psychology, kind of go back and forth and make them think it's their idea a little bit. And that really helps with certain kids. Other kids don't care. It just depends on the kid. It really does. But yeah, I mean, same kind of thing, like awareness, like about like anxiety and stuff like that in kids was just not something people were really aware of in the 80s and 90s, really. And so, like I didn't talk at school. Like I didn't say 2 words hardly at school. And my mom would be like, "Are you sure you're talking about the right kid?" Like I said, home, I was like, "No, all the time," but not at school. But yeah, it just wasn't a thing people really knew about. And there's so much more awareness now because, like you said, you were just a brat, or especially boys, because boys tend to be more hyperactive, impulsive. Girls tend to be the ones that they look like they're listening, but they're not listening. They're just, like, who knows what's going on if you're that inattentive ADHD. And a lot of those girls were missed and still are because of that. It's not a result of bad parenting or anything like that. It just is kind of how our brains work. And like I said, that kind of growth mindset really helps with kids. I have a kid who has ADHD and dysgraphia, and they learned that Dave Pilkey, the author of the Dogman books, has ADHD, and he talks about that in his books. And there's actually a robot called ADHD, like it's pretty great. So yeah, he talks about that, and she went to like this kid event where the author talked to him and stuff. And so she said that it's like a superpower. It's like my superpower too, because I have ADHD and I have, dyslexia. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So it's a very growth mindset kind of idea because, yeah, he got in trouble in school for drawing doodles. Now he's a multimillionaire because he draws doodles that made into books and movies. So yeah, it's like really kind of shifting that mindset, that growth mindset. You discovered electronics and he discovered drawing and writing books, and wildly popular, set of books. And kids really get something out of that because they're like, oh, I have ADHD. And yeah, it's a robot. It's literally the number 80 and then HD. It's pretty hysterical. I took my kids to see the movie. But yeah, he talks a lot about that and how in the back of the book, he talks about how he almost like kind of failed out of school because he has ADHD and dyslexia. And then it really helps kids because he's open about it. It helps kids relate to that and feel like I can do it too. And so I really love that he does that. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's called the Dogman books if you ever want to Google it, look at it. But yeah, they're really weird and goofy. It's very kid, but yeah, it's a big part of his platform, which is really cool. So